There's no perfect state. Oklahoma, hold my beer. The super funny implication being that because every single county in Oklahoma went red, that they're the perfect state. And it is true, every single county went red in Oklahoma. Do you guys want to know some other fun facts about Oklahoma? Their teen pregnancy rate is 116% higher than the one in California. Their infant mortality rate is 66% higher. Their overdoses from drugs are 14% higher. The gun death rate is 130% higher. The suicide rate is 106% higher. And the murder rate per capita is 40% higher. Oh, and life expectancy is 6 years shorter in Oklahoma. Now, if you want to talk about something being perfect, I don't know if any of these things make me look at Oklahoma and go, yeah, that's it. And what honestly just sucks the most is that all of these numbers represent real people that are going to be facing devastating consequences because other people just didn't give a shit and voted for people who make this a reality.
Breaking news, everybody. The latest national education rankings dropped this morning, and Oklahoma is no longer ranked 49th in education in the nation. That's right, folks, we have leveled up. Oklahoma is now ranked 50th in the nation for education. And as a public school teacher in Oklahoma, and as a future mother of a public school student, I want to thank nobody. I'm going to continue to show up to work because I love my job, I love my students, and I believe in the power of education and investing in our future. But I am continuously and patiently waiting for policies and policymakers to catch up to that passion.
I just found out that today they passed a law in Oklahoma that says doctors and nurses can refuse treating you for their personal beliefs. I look like me. I'm gonna die here.
I voted for him for lower grocery prices. He promised me cheaper prices on groceries. And that has not happened. Not only has that not happened, I am getting my food stamps taken. I am getting my cash assistance taken. I am getting my Section 8 taken. I am getting all my welfare governments taken. I did not ask for this. Yes, I would not have voted for him if I knew this was going to happen.
Do you know what drives me insane about these people that say that if I would have known, I wouldn't have voted for him, or I did not vote for that? Yes, you did. The first thing that bothers me is, yes, you did. You see, you voted for those things. You just thought it would happen to someone else. You were perfectly fine with other people losing programs, losing things that would benefit them. You just didn't think it would touch you. You thought you were safe from losing these programs. And the other part is they say they didn't know. Bullcrap. Bullcrap. The left, independents, lots of different economic experts, doctors, scientists have been screaming about all the horrible things that Donald Trump would do. We told you about Project 2025. We told you how many times his name was listed in Project 2025. And we told you how many of his own staffers were in there as well or helped write it. But you guys didn't believe us. You guys said fake news. We tried to warn you. You didn't either want to listen, or your bigotry and your racism, your homophobia and your sexism didn't allow you to see what was coming. So the bed that you made, you now have to lie on. The sad thing is that so many of us are in the same bed with you, but we didn't vote that way. We knew that these things were going to happen. We knew that this was going to cause havoc for everybody. And look, I'm sorry for you. I feel horrible that you're going to lose all these benefits, but you did vote for this. So if you want something to change, I suggest you call your congressperson and tell them to put a leash on Donald Trump and stop him in Congress. I suggest, instead of just coming on this app and whining and complaining about what you yourself created, you call your representative and do something about it. Otherwise, we here on the left and independent, we don't care. We warned you. All my love.
In the 2024 U.S. presidential election, only 2 states voted unanimously, and what a difference in outcome. And while this video sounds political, it is not, so bear with me. Every single county in Oklahoma voted Republican, and every single county in Massachusetts voted Democrat. Oklahoma ranks near the bottom in education, healthcare, and quality of life. Massachusetts ranks near the top in education, healthcare, and quality of life. So, why is one group of people actively choosing a worse life for themselves and the other a better life for themselves? Well, not surprisingly, it comes down to culture. So if you're an American, put politics aside for a moment and check this out. Mary Douglas, a cultural anthropologist and social theorist, helps explain why these two groups of people see the world so differently. Oklahoma fits her hierarchical worldview. People want authority and tradition to keep order. Change or anything different is dangerous. Massachusetts fits the egalitarian worldview. People want collaboration and reform. Change and different ideas are desirable. Holstead, the cultural theorist, would describe Oklahoma as achievement-oriented, a culture of competition. There, people value strength, loyalty, and winning. You prove your worth by enduring, not by changing. Losing means weakness. Well, in Massachusetts, it fits Hofstede's nurturance orientation, a culture that values people, cooperation, and education. You prove yourself there by helping everyone get better, not by beating your opponents. It's the rising tide lifts all ships mentality. So, Oklahoma votes to preserve the system, even if it makes people's lives worse. Massachusetts votes to improve the quality of life. Both groups are protecting their way of life. They just have a different cultural perspective of what life is. And this is one of the great things about the United States. Individuals get to choose which state they live in. And if you had a choice, would you prefer Oklahoma's hierarchical worldview or Massachusetts' egalitarian? Let us know in the comments and join us at culturalperspective.com for more cultural perspective.
Hello everyone, what a nice morning we have over here. So it's amazing having you here, my viewers, my subscribers, guys, you mean a lot to me. That's why I always appreciate you. Before we give commentary, you are giving me a voice and that's a good thing, and I hope it pays off. So let's continue watching, and I'll be making my conclusions at the end of this video about how these real estates are continuing to be malnourished economically, and it's really sad to see what's happening at the moment.
I'm Dr. Terry Ann Scott, a scholar of African American history and the director of the Institute for Common Power. I'm literally in Montgomery, Alabama, and just finished lecturing about lynching and how it is not a relic of a Jim Crow past, but a modern form of racial violence. And somebody just minutes ago sent me an article that is saying that Oklahoma city officials are lamenting the fact that they can't lynch black people any longer. This is the state of where we are today. They were caught on tape talking about this. So if we want to say that there is not institutionalized systemic racism in law enforcement and other city structures, then we are deluding ourselves. It is up to all of us to dismantle racism, to vote these kinds of officials out, to run for office, to ensure that this is actually a just and inclusive democracy. We all have work to do. We all have a part. Let's do it.
Well, then let's talk about Oklahoma history, because Oklahoma is 48th in the country when it comes to education. It's ranked 48th in the country. Your critics say the money that you're spending on the Bible, I'm putting Bibles in every classroom, you've asked for $6 million, should be spent in other ways to better educate the students, because they're very worried about where Oklahoma is ranked in the education system. What do you say to that?
We are in the middle of a turnaround here because we are following President Trump's agenda. This is the agenda for the entire country. We have school choice. We have merit pay. We are rejecting this left-wing ideology in the classroom. We are promoting American exceptionalism. And look, we are pressing students forward to see academic outcomes improve. We've seen record improvement. Record numbers of schools are improving here in Oklahoma. That's what you're going to see for the whole country under President Trump. And again, you continue to see critics, they act like I'm controversial because I'm creating change in a status quo system that has failed kids and failed parents for decades. President Trump is absolutely... But they would say, well then, if you're turning it around, the millions of dollars should be spent on other ways to educate the children. But let me just ask you one last question. As I pointed out in this segment, the books you bought from what you raised in your Twitter handle, I just saw a link to that, was the Trump-endorsed Bible. That's $60 a pop. There are many Bibles available that are less than half of that. Why are you using the Trump-endorsed Bible? What do you say to critics who argue this is clear-cut political pandering right here? What I would tell critics is we're going to teach American history in Oklahoma. So that includes the Bible, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and Bill of Rights. They are all included in this Bible that we've purchased. The Bible will be back in every Oklahoma classroom. President Trump
Why
is
the
bringing...
Trump Bible, though? Why not a cheaper Bible where you could save a lot of money in taxpayer dollars?
I just told you.
Hey, real quick, to the almost 250,000 Oklahomans who are about to lose their Sooner Care, I want you to know that it was Republicans that did that, okay? 3 times, House Democrats were trying to save your health care. We're trying to save Medicare, Medicaid, and Sooner Care for Oklahomans. And 3 times, Republicans voted against it, okay? They wanted to put an amendment that says, hey, if you make $10 million or more, then you don't get a tax break, and that will help save health care for Americans. And House Republicans voted no. And then they tried again. They said, hey, people making $500 million or more, how about we not give them a tax break and save Americans Medicare and Medicaid and your Sooner Care? And they voted no. Republicans unanimously voted no to not save your Sooner Care. Oh, and then they tried a 3rd time to try to save you and your health care, and House Republicans voted no. They voted no because they wanted to give billionaires who already have enough money to spend $1 million a day for the next 500 years. But no, they need more money. They need more money. You don't need your health care. You don't need it. You don't need health care. Who needs health care? Those billionaires deserve another tax break. They deserve that money because they worked hard. They worked for that tax break. You obviously didn't work. That's why you don't get your health care. So anyway, when you lose your health care, when you lose your Sooner Care, you can thank Republicans for that. So when they start kicking out old people and they start not accepting old people in the nursing homes because they don't have those benefits anymore, again, I want you to thank Republicans for this, because this is what you voted for. This is what you voted for them to take away your Sooner Care, for them to take away your Medicare and Medicaid. Because what's more important, the American people being happy and healthy, or billionaires getting tax breaks? The answer is billionaires getting tax breaks. That's what's more important to our politicians in this country. So just so you know who to blame when you lose your health care, may you have the day you deserve.
Well, the Oklahoma governor just announced a new program for his public schools called Classroom to Careers, which sounds great, doesn't it? Except here's how it's going to work. If you want to graduate high school in Oklahoma, the only way that you can qualify to graduate is if you, 1, get accepted into a university, 2, if you can't get accepted into a university or can't afford to go to a university, you have to get into a trade school or a technical college. And if you don't want to do that or cannot do that either, compulsory military enlistment. Ask me if there are any exceptions for students with special needs in this program currently. No, there are not. If you're sitting there thinking, what's wrong with you? I don't understand the problem with this. This is just preparing students for their future and make sure that they have a job when they graduate high school. You need to step back and think about some of the implications that a program like this brings along with it. You want your kid to get into a university so they can qualify for graduation? Oh, but you can't afford it? Too bad. There's no FAFSA anymore. There's no Pell Grants anymore. There are no opportunities for your child to be afforded some kind of financial assistance now that the Department of Education is gone. You have a kid that's bright, hardworking, smart, well-deserved of a college education and can't afford it. That's too bad. Their next option is trade school or technical school. You know what? Acceptance into trade school and technical school isn't free either. You can't afford that either. Too bad, so sad. I guess your kid is going to be in the Navy now. All those children that do not have the capacity to do any of those things, what about them? Something about that smells like institutionalization and forced labor to me. What if your kid wants to be an independent artist or musician or go to Hollywood to try and make it in movies or television, or be an entrepreneur with a little bit of money they saved up? All of that is off the table unless you're a 1%er. School choice, parental rights, all that's a myth to earn your vote. They lied to you.
As we continue watching this video, I would like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think will be the breaking point of these Americans in the United States? What do you think will be the breaking point to a point when they will learn that real power belongs to the people? Real power belongs to the people to remove corrupt governors, corrupt senators, corrupt House representatives, you know what I mean, corrupt president. When will these people learn? Tell me in the comment section.
America's not failing because of Trump. It's failing because you don't want to lose your couch. You know what I think the Trump and the Republican Party are actually betting on? Not the courts, not even elections, not even the lies. I think that they're betting on you. I think that they're betting that no matter whatever happens, when push comes to shove, you're going to do what's necessary to hold on to your little bit of crumbs no matter what. Because let's be honest, people care more about their position in the hierarchy than the fact that the hierarchy even exists. You'll fight your neighbor over a parking spot, but you won't fight your government when it steals from you in broad daylight. You're mad, so you say, but you're not really mad enough to do anything. And see, they know that. They know that most people would rather hang on to the little bit of scraps that they have than risk those scraps to push back against something. That house you still paying the bank for, that car note, those clothes, that jewelry, all of that stuff keeps you in check more than any law ever could. And here's the irony. The same system that you claim is broken, you're still loyal to it. You'll complain about it, sure, but deep down, you'll obey it because you don't want to drop from the middle of the ladder to the bottom. So you'll protect it, even if that means protecting the very people that are destroying you. And that's exactly why this keeps happening. That's why they keep winning. Because the truth is this: America really isn't being destroyed from the top. It's quietly being surrendered from the bottom. So maybe the question isn't, can we come back from it, right? I think the real question is, do we even want to?
The state of Oklahoma is now going to require new teachers to prove that they're loyal to Donald Trump before hiring them. Yeah, this is how crazy these MAGA lunatics are in the state of Oklahoma. Teachers from California and New York who want to work in Oklahoma public schools will be required to pass a certification test to prove that they share the state's conservative political values. Regardless of the subject or grade they teach, they'll have to show they know the biological differences between male and females and that they agree with the state's American history standards, which includes elements of a conspiracy theory that the 2020 election wasn't fair. They say that New York and California are teaching things that are, quote, antithetical to our standards. So I guess the standards in Oklahoma is conspiracy theory. And as has been pointed out correctly, Oklahoma currently ranks 50th last in education among U.S. states, 49th in ACT, 45th in SAT scores, 48th in reading, 44th in math, 46th in dropout rates, and more. So maybe Oklahoma should be focused on trying to make their education system better and actually help kids to read and do basic math instead of doing these dumb political litmus tests.
Hi, my name is Aaron Baker. I'm a high school social studies teacher in Oklahoma, and this is one of two God Bless the USA Bibles that was sent to me by State Superintendent Ryan Walters. And after months of claiming that one of these Bibles was going to be in every Oklahoma classroom, two finally arrived at my school with my name on it, specifically because I teach AP U.S. Government and Politics. Now, I don't want to talk today about the issue of Bibles in classrooms. If you want to see a catalog of my World Religions Library in my classroom, you can see a previous video about that. I want to talk about this Bible in particular. When I first received this Bible, the first thing that struck me was that it was very generic, leather-bound, King James version of the Bible, just like I grew up with, probably owned a dozen or more in my lifetime. It's not a study Bible. There's no in-text commentary. There's nothing unique about the version in and of itself. The only thing that is quote-unquote special about this Bible is that in the back, when I was a kid, where the maps used to be, is where we find a letter from Lee Greenwood, followed by the Declaration of Independence, followed by the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, the Pledge of Allegiance, and then a place for notes. As I was looking through, I came across the Constitution, and since I teach government, I was interested in the presentation. As I mentioned, the Bill of Rights is listed here as well, although the Bill of Rights are part of the Constitution. And then if the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution are mentioned, and then that is directly followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, something became apparent to me. One could say that parts of the Constitution are missing, particularly Amendments 11 through 27. But you can also make the argument that this is the wrong Constitution, in fact. The Constitution in this Bible contains what's called the Three-Fifths Compromise, which was summarily removed by the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which abolished slavery in the United States. The 14th Amendment is also missing from this Constitution, and that is where we get the due process of law. This is not an accident. This is an incomplete, at best, Constitution that's in this Bible, and it's a dishonest Constitution, and it's not the Constitution that I teach in my classroom. I believe that this firmly indicates that we are exiting a stage of MAGA revisionist history where the message is that slavery was not that bad, and we are firmly entering into one of the final stages of MAGA revisionist history, and that is that slavery never existed. And that's what appears to happen in this Constitution, in this Bible, because the original articles of the Constitution does not use the word slavery. The 13th Amendment has a direct reference, and if you are trying to rewrite history, leaving those amendments out will help make that point. This is very concerning, and I wanted to raise the alarm on the fact that this kind of blatant revisionist history is being pushed into our schools in Oklahoma, and it needs to stop.
We have some news right now. Oklahoma Republican lawmakers have introduced legislation that would require every single college and university in the state of Oklahoma to construct a, quote, Charlie Kirk Memorial Plaza. The Memorial Plaza must also contain a statue of Charlie Kirk. The bill calls Kirk a, quote, modern-day civil rights leader. And if universities or these schools refuse to construct this Memorial Plaza in honor of Kirk, then they can pay monthly fines to the state of Oklahoma. Remember, Oklahoma is last in the country in terms of education right now. The memorial statue must be built in a, quote, prominent area on the main campus of every single college and institution in the state of Oklahoma. If this passes, it was sponsored by 2 Republican state senators, and it must include a statue of Charlie Kirk either sitting at a table with an empty seat across from him or one of Kirk and his wife holding their children. All designs must be approved by the Oklahoma State Legislature. They also must include permanent signage commemorating Charlie Kirk's courage and faith.
Republicans in Oklahoma are boasting that they did not have one county in their state that voted Democrat in the last presidential election. More so, they're telling other states that are very Republican that they should be like Oklahoma and go completely red in upcoming election cycles. So let's take a quick look at what it means to be Oklahoma. To be Oklahoma, you would have to have the second worst education system in the nation, with 20% of high school students not graduating. You would also have to have 84% of your 8th graders not proficient in math, and 74% of your 4th graders not proficient in reading. You would also have to be ranked as the 4th worst state for health and overall well-being. That means you would need to be number 1 in overall drug use, number 1 in highest level of poverty, number 3 in highest obesity rates, and number 1 in lowest life expectancy. Your state would also have to be one of the worst states to work in, with a $7.25 minimum wage. You would also have to be one of the worst states in the nation for women's health care, and the 8th worst state to start a business. With all that said, the state of Oklahoma is good at 2 things. 1, they're good at trying to put the Bible back in the classroom, especially Trump edition Bibles. And 2, they're good at trying to target migrant children who are here undocumented.
Thank you to everyone who has watched this video to the end. My name is Anthony, and I want to give my 2 cents on the situation in these red states. These states, they are like third world countries. You know what I mean? No development, no progress, regressive tax. You know what I mean? Whereby the poor pay more and the rich pay less. You know what I mean? So it's very sad when you compare the economic situation of the red states and the blue states. You know, when you compare our state that voted red in the last election and those that voted blue, the standards of living in the blue states are very high. these states have governments which really care about them. And that is the shock that meets many Americans in red states when they travel to these blue states, whereby the government really have the interest of people at heart when they make policies, you know what I mean, when they make laws, you know what I mean. So it's really amazing, or it's really sad, what's happening in these red states. And my question is, what will be the breaking point? The greatest issue or the greatest problem that will lead to the destruction of the United States is not hatred, not racism, but ignorance. No, and the lack of urge to learn, the lack of urge to listen, the lack of urge to do your research before you cast your ballot, you know what I mean? That will lead to the destruction of the United States as we know it. And despite a state like Oklahoma being ranked the last in education, the superintendent, in that place, Ryan Walters, instead of looking for ways to improve the education of kids in those schools, what he wanted to do was introduce Bibles, If a teacher came from California and New York to search for a job in Oklahoma, which I don't know if there is any sane teacher of a sane mind who do so, they have to pledge allegiance to Donald Trump. You know what I mean? So it's really sad what's happening in these states. They keep electing incompetent people to lead their policies. So, what are your thoughts about all these issues? I would like to hear them in the comment section, because I don't have a general view, because it's a self-inflicted problem. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section. So, what I usually say is until the next video, stay alert, stay focused, watch Blue Talk, Blue Vote Blue. Until the next video, thank you for your attention to this matter.